Hi, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Welcome back to another monthly wrap up. It is the end of September, which means October is just around the corner and there is so much content at the moment. So today we're going to go through what I watched during the whole month of September. I am seeing Smile tomorrow, so that is the only film I have left off this list, but I will be doing a full review on it, spoiler free of course, so stay tuned for that. That will be up on my channel very shortly. But I have plenty of movies I have not spoken about on my channel this month in this video, so I'm excited to talk about them with you, and TV shows. But first off, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is Surfshark. Surfshark is basically the reason I'm able to watch so much content I do, because Surfshark is a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. Not only do they encrypt all of your data and protect your identity online, they also can unlock geo-blocked content. So say if you want to watch something that's only available in the UK, you just type in a location, flick a switch, and there you are. It's that simple. I like Surfshark for so many reasons. It's easy, user-friendly, great customer service. If you ever have an issue, you can contact them and it's real people on the other side. And also, your subscription gets you access on unlimited devices. So not only do I have it on my computer, I also have it on my phone and I can have it on my smart TV, etc., etc. Surfshark really is the secret tool I use to unlock content. So if you do want to try it out today, you can use my code SPOOKY for 83% off and 3 months extra for free. And one of the best things about Surfshark is they have a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So if you just want to try it out and see how you go for 30 days, if you do not like it within the 30 days, you can get your money back, no questions asked. Make sure to use my code SPOOKY or the link in the description to sign up today. And thank you, of course, to Surfshark for sponsoring creators like me. Now let's get into the movies. Before we get started, because I keep getting asked, you may have missed it, but we don't have Pearl out in Australia, unfortunately. I don't know what's going on with it, and I wish I knew, but we don't have a release date as of when I'm filming this for Pearl, so that's why it's not included, unfortunately, on this list. So sad. But the first film I watched this month was Who Invited Them. This is one I saw a lot of you guys watching. If you follow me on Letterboxd, by the way, that's the app I use. It's always linked in the description below. I do follow you back, and this film was fun until it kind of went nowhere. The movie is about a couple who have some unexpected guests come to their, I think it's a housewarming, if I can remember it. Yes, a housewarming. And they stay long after the party ends and they have like this weird energy. It's kind of like a comedy, like a dark comedy horror. It was a pretty straightforward movie, but they try to throw some random characters in there. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. And it was kind of bizarre. It didn't really just flow well, but sometimes it's nice when these films get a little bit unexpected, but this one unfortunately ended up really predictable, and they tried to throw you off and it didn't really work. I was not a big fan of this one, but it is on Shudder. If you want a background movie, it's not the worst. The banter's kind of cool, but yeah, I didn't feel like it went really anywhere, so I gave it 2.5. I watched The Birthday. I didn't want to give this one a score because this film is a passion project, and if you've ever seen it, it's a very rare film, super rare, and it's absolutely bizarre. I wish I could explain it to you, but all of the bizarreness happens towards the end of the film, and it's one of those movies you're trying to figure out what's happening the entire time, and it's not really revealed until later on, so it's kind of hard for me to explain what it's about, but basically, it's Corey Feldman, and he is wandering around this hotel for this birthday party with his girlfriend, and it's almost like in Mother where everyone around him is like clued in on what's going on, but he's not, and he's getting mixed signals. There's a lot of bizarreness going on throughout the whole film. The film ends in a very epic, strange way that is almost like a payoff. I can't even explain it. It's just a very strange movie that I actually watched this with my patrons. One of my patrons and friend, Rob, he had a copy of this. He got it on a DVD. It's literally that hard to find. I feel like I'm giving it a really strange review, but it's a really strange movie and I struggle to kind of put it into words without spoiling it. But if you ever do see it anywhere, I don't know if you ever would, this cover, check it out and tell me what you think. Sorry, that was the worst review ever. Barbarian, I did a review on this. I was really lucky to see it early and it's coming out to cinemas in Australia in October, so I'm excited to watch that again. And a film I actually ended up seeing back to back, which was not intentional, was Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I did a Come With Me review for this, and we got this really late in Australia. It did show it at a film festival in Melbourne, like a month ago, but it's just now been wide released, and I bought tickets to go see it, and then I got invited to the premiere here, so I ended up seeing it back to back. I enjoyed it. I have a review on it, but I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it was fun for what it is, and if you're into something that's kind of like lighthearted and silly, I think go for it. But it's definitely satirical. It's kind of making fun of the characters. And if you hate characters that make really dumb decisions, it's probably not for you. I watched End of the Road. This was kind of billed, it's on Netflix. It was billed as like a thriller and a crime thriller where this family get into a situation where this mob is like after them. But it goes downhill real fast. I really wanted it to work out, but it goes nowhere fast. It has Queen Latifah in it, who she's great in this role. But there's just so many like weird moments in it that don't work. And it's very twisty, which I think is cool. And if you do watch it, it's worth holding out to watch it all the way. But you have to really stick through it, it's a lot. It's a lot. I probably wouldn't recommend it to you guys. I watched Speak No Evil, which I did a review on. This is I love all the comments on this review that I did, because it's a really hard to watch, aggravating film about two families that meet, a Dutch family and a Danish family, and then they like spend some time together after they met on a holiday, and their families and the cultural differences between them are very intense, and it's a very shocking, I mean, obviously there's more than that, but it's a very shocking movie about how passive the Danish family are. And yeah, if you like disturbing stuff, I would recommend. This one is on Shudder as well. I watched Abandoned. My friend Scott, I actually saw he watched this, and I'm like, I never even heard about this. Maybe I had and forgot about it. Emma Roberts. It's a bad movie, guys. It's bad. I rented this one. It is about look at all the reviews. I'm so sorry, guys. It's about a young family that have a young baby, and they move out into like the countryside, and she's dealing with like this major depression, and he thinks it's a great idea to isolate her, and they obviously, move into a haunted house. So like, what could go wrong? Depression. Let's get the haunted house going on. It just made no sense from the start, and it plays into a lot of tropes. It's very obvious where it's going. It's like every single classic horror, annoying, overdone trope put into one movie. And then I don't actually even understand what it was trying to say about mental illness. It was really confusing. If it was like, what its messaging was. So I'd probably stay away from that one. Yeah, not the greatest. Very random role for her as well. I watched Clown, and this was a rewatch for me because we did Does This Offend You on Clown and Stitches. And what a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, again, if you don't know, Eli Roth, he's a producer on this film. A lot of people call it like Eli Roth's Clown, but this film, like the script and everything, existed before Eli Roth. If you didn't know that, it's not like any of his other stuff is what I'm trying to say. This is an independent film about a father who puts on a clown suit to wear to his son's birthday party when the clown doesn't show up, and gets stuck inside, and it's linked to wherever this mysterious suit is from. And it's a really scary story. Like, the second half of it is really grim. It's very dark, and I would really recommend it if you like if you're okay with like independent films, if you like lower budget films done really well. I think it's a really dark story, and it doesn't get as much credit as it should. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but I think it's worth a look if you're into that kind of subject matter. Do revenge. It's meant to be a callback to like 90s movies like Clueless. I feel like it's really Cruel Intentions-esque. It's a very bizarre movie. A lot of people really love this movie though, which is really cool for it, but I did not absolutely love it. The movie is about two girls who meet after they kind of are isolated by their own circumstances. One girl, like her whole world falls apart. She goes to this very privileged school and her whole world falls apart, and she decides to take revenge on those people who tore it apart, and she does so with her new friend who's like this mysterious stranger. The plot holes in this film, I don't know if it's plot holes, but just like the mental gymnastics I had to do in this film to like make it work in my brain were a lot, and the characters were like flip-flopping all over the place, and it was I don't know, it's just meant to be fun, fun, I guess. But it was a lot to try and understand what was situational based motives. I felt like it was a weird path it took. It is a fun movie though, and what I loved about it so much was the soundtrack. The soundtrack is insane, so good, and made it all worth it for me. The fact that it had such a good soundtrack and there was a makeover in it, like, I was sold. I was like, everything else from this point is bonus. But yeah, it was like a weird, it's a very strange storyline, but I guess it will take you by surprise. It's cute, but it's just like a silly movie, and a lot of people are really loving it. So I do think that I definitely am one of the people who liked it a little bit less than a lot of others. But if you're into those kinds of like cute comedies that are really like edgy, check it out. It is on Netflix. You'll probably love it. I watched House of Darkness, which had my favorite fave, Justin Long, BFF. And this one is him and his girlfriend, Kate Bosworth. And I mean, you look at the poster and you know what this film's about. I talked about it in my What's Coming to VOD this month, and I tried to be really subtle about what it's about, but it's kind of obvious. So a guy goes back to a woman's house after meeting her in the bar, and it's a very conversational film, almost mumblecore, like almost, and it's them kind of getting to know each other. It's very much like one location kind of film, and he realizes something is off about this mysterious woman that he's just met. It's pretty heavy on the clues, and I think you're meant to know, but it's just nice watching them unravel, and the banter between them is kind of what you're there for. And everyone loves like Justin Long being really awkward. He plays into it so well. So I didn't think it was that bad. I went into it knowing exactly what it was going to be like. It looks like a lot of people liked it. Yeah, I would recommend it if you like slower films. You don't mind just films that are kind of like more talky, less dewy. This film is one of those, and it's just enjoyable if you do like Justin Long. I watched Fall. I did a Patreon review of this one, and if you do want to sign up to my Patreon, the link's always down below. It's $2 a month, and you get bonus videos every single week. And yeah, I took people along to see Fall with me. This movie just came out in Australia again. We waited again, for another movie to come out, so past its due date, and I actually enjoyed this one. It's definitely got faults. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10, but I thought that it was really effective. If you don't know, it's about two best friends who, after a tragic incident, don't see each other for a while, and then they come back together to climb up this, I think it's a TV tower, what's it called? A radio tower. And look at the poster, you can imagine. So basically they go up there and they get stuck and they have to survive. So it's a survival horror, kind of like Frozen if you've seen that movie, obviously not the Disney one, or Crawl, that kind of thing where they're in a situation and they need to kind of figure out a way to get out. I thought it was effective. There's a couple of things that were very strange about it, but it's just really cool seeing this actually real elevated horror. It's tense and it works for an easy, fun survival horror. I would recommend it actually, that one. I thought it was okay. Not perfect, but okay. I watched Perfect Blue. I was doing that disturbing film video, and I just wanted to rewatch Perfect Blue because I feel like everyone always brings it up, and it is a good movie. I just don't find it as like disturbing as everyone else. I don't know if that makes me like a sicko. If you haven't seen it, it is an anime movie about, a lot of people say it's like the same story as Black Swan, and I can understand the similarities, but I think the Black Swan is so different to this movie. But anyway, I digress. The film is about a pop singer whose manager and people around her decide that she wants to become an actress instead. And it's about her fight for her identity and who she really is throughout that. And she kind of loses herself, and it becomes like a story of like what is real and what's not, as she is in this cycle of not knowing whether she's an actress or she's in the movie or she's a pop star. It's bizarre, and because it is anime, they can really go there with all the effects, and the transitions between the scenes are really interesting. It's a really well done film. If you haven't seen it, I don't really watch much anime, and I love this film, so I do recommend it. So definitely check it out. It's highly rated by a lot of people. I watched Dogville, converted fan. This was in my if you haven't seen, I did a list of the 30 like really disturbing films that I like, and Dogville, I had not watched this. It is Lars von Trier, and I'm not a big fan of his. I like Dancer in the Dark, but I don't really like his other films. But this film blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. The film is within a soundstage, so it looks like it's almost like the actors doing a rehearsal reading of a film. Obviously very much encapsulating like their characters and blocking and all of that. But it's just really stripped back. It's such an interesting way to present the film. And I know that there was a lot of feedback for this. A lot of people said it was really pretentious. And I find him to be really pretentious, like a lot of his films. I'm not a fan of Antichrist, but for some reason this just really worked for me. I'm a big fan of Nicole Kidman as well. So the movie is about Nicole Kidman's character who winds up in this town called Dogville after fleeing from these mobsters, and they agree to take her in as long as she starts to help out in this village. At the start, these villagers say that they don't need any help, but then they come to adjust to her being there, and just like situations change really fast, and the treatment of her goes downhill. Let's just say that. It's so intense and so good, and I really highly recommend it. I'm so sad I put it off for so long because I cannot speak highly enough of this film. I think it's great. Great. I gave it 5 stars. I watched Don't Worry Darling, which I did a review on. So interesting. There's been more drama coming out about it. I know everyone's sick of hearing about it, but there's like more stuff that's just come out because Olivia Wilde is now finally talking about what happened on production. Oh my God. What I like about this film, I will not give you spoilers, don't worry. I did a whole video about this as well, but just in case you didn't see it, it's not what you think. Obviously, if you don't know, it's about Florence Pugh's character who is living in this world, this like utopian community in the 50s with her husband, and one day she realizes that maybe this community isn't everything she thought it was, and like, you know, cracks are showing. It's a pretty stereotypical story. We've seen this before, but I didn't really guess where it went ultimately, which I liked. I really would recommend this film, but go into it knowing that it's not the most groundbreaking idea, but I think it's done well, or at least Florence Pugh like saves it a lot. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting film, the way it all came together. I know the drama and all that, but there's just more strangeness going on when you watch it as well. So I think you need, if you're invested in anything, you need to watch the film to like understand the drama completely. In a weird way. I hope that made sense. It never does. I watched I Came By. This is a English, I want to say thriller. It's like a crime thriller that was on Netflix about this. He's like a graffiti artist or vigilante really. He breaks into really wealthy people, corrupt people's houses, and he leaves his tag, which is I Came By, like in their house, just to show that people who think they can't be touched can. But then he winds up finding someone who's like really dangerous. Basically, that's the story. And it's really dark and super, like I thought this went beyond where I thought it would go. Like it was way disturbing, and they're not afraid to go there. It's not like one of those films where things almost happen. Things happen and they're really drastic. It is quite long. It's nearly 2 hours, so I do think it's a little bit long in the middle. But I thought it was all right. I'd probably recommend it if you've got 2 hours to spare and you're looking for something easy to watch on, not easy, but if you're looking for something interesting to watch on Netflix. Not the best film by any means. I watched Lou, but this is not for me. I thought this was going to be more of a thriller. It's about, what they tell you, it's about a woman who's her neighbor, who's also like her landlord. They don't really get along, but then one night, her daughter goes missing, gets kidnapped, and then her landlord, Lou, helps her. And they don't really have a good relationship, and it's about them like grating on each other the whole time, but they like work together to try and find her daughter. But it's a very action-packed, like military-style movie, which I was not expecting. And there's a dog in it, so I was like fearful for the dog's life the whole time. But yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I didn't really feel like it went... I don't know, it was that deep. It was kind of convoluted and silly and just a lot of action. Not really for me. More of an action crime than a thriller, which I felt like it was sold as, but you know. I watched Girl, which this is Bella Thorne's new kind of like thriller. Does anyone else have a complicated relationship with Bella Thorne? Because I definitely do. But she's actually really good in this. I think that this role was really well suited to her. It's on Netflix. It's about a girl who goes to this small town where her dad lives that she has no relationship with, who kind of abandoned her as a kid and abused her mother. And you can see the axe. She goes there to kill him. But when she gets there, she discovers that someone has already beaten him, and she like tries to figure out what's going on. It's kind of like this whole swirl of lies, and she's trying to figure out who's who in this town, and people know her and she doesn't know how they know her, and yeah, it's just like her uncovering all of that. It's kind of silly in the middle, but I like the idea. Like, I could see on the script on paper, obviously on paper, it's quite interesting, and I think she just really suited this character. So if you do like Bella Thorne, you probably will like this, but if you don't, obviously don't watch it. But I did think she did really well on this, so I wasn't mad that I watched it. It hasn't got great reviews. Again, I feel like I watched a lot of middle of the road stuff this month, and this was kind of it. And then I watched Slither. I watched this with my patrons. Nick, my patron and friend, he chose it. I had not watched this in a while. Very interesting. I did not know that this was James Gunn's first feature film. If you have not seen it, it is about little tiny Slytherin, little sluggy bugs from outer space that come and take over a small town in South Carolina. It is a very gruesome movie that is billed as like a black comedy, but it doesn't really go full comedy. So it's really interesting. It kind of like toes this in-between line where you're not really quite sure on the vibe, but I will say the gore is really solid in this one, and like the entity that comes out and all of like the gory things with these little sluggy slugs, making their way around the town is really cool. So if you want to watch for something gory and something that's gonna like make your skin crawl, this one is it. It has a lot of like bizarre and intense moments that are quite disturbing, and a very interesting like loose metaphor. I don't know if it's a real metaphor, but there's something in there, and it's got Elizabeth Banks in there. So yeah, if you haven't seen Slither, I'm sure a lot of you have. I would recommend checking it out if you're a fan of gruesome horror. But let's talk about TV. Okay, I have some things I think worked and some things that I think didn't work. Number one, House of Hammer. This is one, as soon as it was the end of the month, a couple of people mentioned it. My friend Megan mentioned it. It is about Armie Hammer. I think it was a 3-part documentary series. I watched it at the very start of the month. Very disturbing. Went places I didn't even understand it could go. I believe it's on Discovery Plus in America. It is absolutely wild. So if you don't know about Armie Hammer, Call Me by Your Name, he's an actor, and it was surfaced, I think it was during the pandemic, a couple years ago, these text messages, some crazy text messages about him and some women that he was involved with. And since then, it's just out of control, all of these allegations. And this documentary series shows everything, and it's so insane. But it goes back even further than that, because it isn't just focused on these current allegations. It's focused on his family a lot and who his family are, and it's wild, absolutely wild. If you want to watch something that's absolutely shocking, I can't believe that this series exists, and I don't know what's going on with him and how this like documentary came to be. It's just the most wild thing ever, and I don't feel like enough people are talking about it. So if you haven't watched it and you do have access and you like true crime and just content warning, maybe like absolutely every content warning you could think of, House of Hammer, very interesting stuff, very insane stuff. And also, this is not a background, just a tip, this is not a background documentary series that you can just like throw on while you're like doing tasks, because there's a lot of text messages that come up and you have to read a lot. So just wanted to get you in the headspace, because sometimes I chuck on series and I'm just like working while I'm listening at the same time, but this one you really need to stay glued. I watched Nathan For You because a couple of people recommended Nathan For You for me when I watched The Rehearsal last month. I want to thank you so much to all of you who thoughtfully recommend stuff to me, and you want to choose stuff that really suits my taste. It does really mean a lot to me that you look out for my best interest, but unfortunately this one did not work for me. Nathan For You is like a comedic kind of show about marketing, I would say. He takes on different clients and or really just imposes himself into different businesses and gives them like really crappy strategies or like silly strategies, satirical strategies of how to up their like promotional value of their business. It's silly. It's meant to be really fun. Trisha Paytas was in one of the episodes. I think like it's a super old show, but for me, I don't know, it just didn't really work that well, but I do appreciate it. And if you do have recommendations for stuff like The Rehearsal, please let me know, because I will still keep trying. A show I started watching for my, put on the background while I'm doing stuff is Below Deck. I can't believe it took me this long to start watching it. I think I've watched the first 3 seasons now. Below Deck is a reality show about yachties, which are people who work on yachts for like, it's just like short runs. They usually do, I think, like 6 different like yacht trips, which are usually like 1 to 3 days at a time, looking after, millionaires who come onto their yachts and serving them and making sure everything's good. There's like drama between all the staff on the deck, and they're trying to, beckon to all of their needs and get a big tip at the end. And the whole thing is about getting this huge tip. So yeah, if you want something like fun and just really easy to watch reality show, a lot of people have been telling me to watch Below Deck for years, and I know there's other series. I just started on the American one, but I know there's Mediterranean, I know there's Down Under, but I would recommend it. I recommend starting at the start and just go from there. I haven't got that far through, but I really wish I would have, again, listened to some recommendations. I watched The Sins of Our Mother, which is a Netflix doco series. I think it's 3 episodes, and God, heartbreaking. And you can tell where it's going, which is even worse. I don't know if I knew the story, just like subconsciously knew the story, so I knew where it was going, or if I've just seen so many similar stories that it's just so messed up to kind of predict this disgusting outcome. It's about a mum who was like lured into, she had obviously some issues and some trauma, and she was lured into this cult, and it's about her like remarrying and this man there's a lot going on there. There's a long history of it, but yeah, it's basically this really sad story about this mother and what happened to her and her family, told through her son and her mum, which is the grandma, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a 3-piece documentary. Interesting enough, if you have seen it, you should look up the son who was on it, because I was shocked. And I can't really repeat it online, but absolutely shocked and appalled. But the story itself, the documentary, is so sad. So if you're into those kind of like full-on, really gut-wrenching Netflix doco-series, this one is one to add to the list, unfortunately. And then the last thing I watched this month, I want to say, I feel like I didn't watch a lot this month. I don't know if it seems like that from the list or not. It's because I was really busy with things. So just keep an eye out, because things are happening really fast and something's coming. So yeah, I feel like I missed out on a lot of movies, but I did manage to get one whole series in the last day. I watched on Sunday, I watched Heartbreak High. Heartbreak High is from the 90s. I think it was 1994 it started. It's an Australian drama, like teen show about this high school and all these dramas there. And it was like a really big thing in Australia. And this is the like reboot. And oh my God, it was so good. I really enjoyed it. I will say there's like 80% of it that I absolutely loved, and 20% of it that was really kind of cringy and like was really felt like after school special, like shoving it down your throat. But the other 80% was so funny and so alluring, and I really liked the characters that I kind of let the 20% cringe kind of do its course, and I accepted it for what it was. But the show starts off with 2 friends who have a falling out, and you're not exactly sure why. And the show wraps around to try and figure out this mystery of why they're not friends anymore. And it's about their like things that they did together and how it affects the whole school. And yeah, it's really interesting. The characters are pretty like brutal, has really good representation, and really interesting like different backgrounds for all of the kids. So kids, I'm like so old all of a sudden, but they are teens and they're in school. And yeah, I just love watching Australian shows that really work, and I really enjoyed it, and I watched it all in one day, so that's definitely saying something. So I would recommend, especially to Australians, Heartbreak High, the new series. Again, 20% is cringe, but if you can get past that, I do think that there's some really good stuff in this TV show. And that's everything I watched this month. I want to thank you so much for being here and supporting me. Oh my gosh, I have a lot coming up because I have my What's Coming to VOD for October, and I can tell you it's gonna be like the longest video ever. I was looking at it before and there's so much content coming up, so very excited to see what's coming up next month. I'll be doing a normal schedule for October. I don't do 31 days of horror anymore. I want to stick to what's new and what's coming out and stay with you guys and stay fresh and up to date, so I'll be doing that for October and trying to cover as many things as I can. Of course, we have like new Mike Flanagan. There's just so much coming up, so I'm really excited to share that with you all. Leave any recommendations for what you think I should watch down in the comments below, or let me know what you watched and what you liked, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.